This is the Action Movie Guys podcast, bringing you action movie reviews from across the decades, plus box office numbers and insight like never before. And now, your hosts of the Action Movie Guys podcast, Alex and Nate.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Action Movie Guys podcast, episode 101. This is the License to Kill, Timothy Dalton's final role as James Bond. I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
All right, Nate, I know I'm going to say how long has it been, but we all know that this is your first time. So for me, this has been a long time since I've seen this movie. I think I could say this is like my fifth time watching this movie. So we'll get into it, why. But again, for those of you that are new to the channel or you listen to us on the podcast, for the Bond movies only, we are going to rate the theme songs at the beginning and then give you guys our scores on that. But that does not apply to our review scores that we give at the end of the review. So with that said, let's get right into some box office numbers for License to Kill from 1989. And they are domestic, $34 million, international, $121 million, for a worldwide total of $156 million on a opening night of $8 million. Nate?
Well, I mean, that's 1989 money. So 100 and something, it used to be anyway, even all the way up until maybe 2004, maybe, 100 million was always considered like a blockbuster. It's like a milestone. So if you hit a worldwide of 189, it's a good chunk of change. It's not as big as a lot of the big movies, but it's not bad. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, but 34 US is not amazing. Then again, this is always skewed older and foreign. So it makes sense.
And plus, this is the budget of 32 to 36. I really don't got a rough number, so that's the budget line between there.
So it made money. It made 4 times its budget total. Even with marketing and whatever, it probably made at least twice its budget. So
so let's check out what the critics and the audience have to say with their Rotten Tomato scores. Nate.
Well, this is kind of similar to the first movie, and that it has a critic score of 78% and a audience score of 61%. Mm-hmm. So each one is not that far from what they were with what was the first movie that he was in, The Living Daylights. They're pretty close as far as the critics, they didn't waver much. So yeah, I mean, overall, both positive. Critics seem to like it more than the audience.
Yeah. All right. So with that said, guys, we're going to get right into the movie review. So let's start off with James Bond himself, Timothy Dalton, with the lead character.
Oh, wait, we got to do the song. We got to do the song in the credits.
Oh, that's right. Let's
do the song in the credits. So
yeah,
no worries. I didn't like it. I did not like this song. I like Gladys Knight. Don't get me wrong. Legend. Great voice. This sounded like a love R&B ballad. And then she just all of a sudden dropped in the line that she had a license to kill. And it was kind of weird. If you listen to the lyrics, I didn't like it. I don't think it fit. I don't think it fits I haven't seen all the James Bond movies, so I don't know if there's one that's very love centric. But when I think of a movie called License to Kill, and I read articles about how these are more darker and stuff, this ain't the song I'm thinking of. So I didn't like the song. The opening credits were okay. I think both of his are, especially if you look at what was the next movie, was GoldenEye. And look at that opening credits versus this one, not even close. So I'm going to give it a 2. And that's because Gladys Knight is legendary and her voice is fantastic. But I didn't like the song. And the opening credits, they're very random in his 2 movies. They don't really say anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Gladys Knight, great voice. The minute she sung, I was like, okay, I kind of knew it was already Gladys Knight. But I did not like the sequence titles that's behind. There was a bunch of naked women just turning around, and it just felt weird. It was a weird, the newer movies gave you the plot of the movie within the song. Yeah. This one just naked. Again, there was silhouettes of naked women, which again, we all know they're naked women, but it was very obvious. And they have guns that don't shoot. But the song itself, I totally agree with you. I was not into the Gladys Knight singing this song. This song was so far-fetched away from the 007.
Yeah.
But I kind of understand they had a legendary singer singing. So they went with this, I guess, a song that they felt that was up her alley, if you want to say, for musicians. So with that, I agree with you. I gave her a 2 myself. I was not digging this. I felt like this song was way better than Living Daylights. I'll say that. I enjoyed it.
I like that one.
I know you like the Aha version.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel you. No, I totally feel you.
Yeah, I felt like this one was a little bit more, but it did not fit this movie. All right, so let's get right into the lead character, Timothy Dalton, as James Bond.
Well, we're at the end. It took us forever to get to the end of the road with everyone else. We're at the end of the road with Dalton after a whole 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I see why he only lasted 2 movies. Not my favorite of the 3 Bonds I've seen. He's my least favorite of the 3 Bonds I've seen. Something about him, it doesn't click for me. I don't know. He's a good actor. But I think you mentioned something before. He came maybe more from like a theater background. And in this movie, and I have some stuff to say about this movie later, but in regards to him, you can tell it always seems like he's hitting marks, which I don't like when it's very obvious. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very staged thing, like, go here, you got to go here. And they do it in movies too, but it shouldn't be so apparent. It always seems kind of apparent with Dalton, in my opinion. In these movies, he was fine. I can't go above fine. I don't think he was bad, but he was not better than Daniel Craig or Pierce Brosnan. I wouldn't even say he's as good as either one. I think both of them were better, but he was fine. He didn't he wasn't terrible, but he's just kind of bland. I think he was bland as Bond. He wasn't suave. I never got that suaveness. I need suaveness from James Bond. I need it. He's supposed to be this lady killer man, and he's not. Timothy Dalton is not in these movies. And I don't know. I gave him a 3. I didn't really like him that much personally. I did like the pissed offness, but everything else, I wasn't getting it.
All right. So Timothy Dalton, I never liked him as Bond. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. This is a second movie, and rewatching this movie, I did not like him. I was like, why would they choose this type of actor for Bond?
Yeah.
I kind of understood why they would, but I think this is another poor miscast on their part, because Timothy Dalton is not smooth. Like, I could not figure out how he's banging these women left and right. I was like, this dude is not the smoothest guy on the block. Then, I do give it to the point that, yes, he is good in the action sequences. It felt believable. Angry Bond felt believable. But again, like I said it before, and I'll say it again, this actor is a trained theater actor. So he's not a multi-dimensional actor. Now he is. If you see him in Doom Patrol, he's now more out of his element. But back in the 80s, it looked like he was just a one type actor, and his line delivery felt so fake in certain scenes. Like when he's talking to M, he's like, they killed Felix Leiter. And I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? Like,
that's true.
It didn't feel like a normal conversation with him. Like, the only time I felt like he had a good conversation was with Q. It felt natural. Him with the ladies did not feel natural. Even when he threw the chick on the bed and he goes, who are you working for? And what's the... And I'm like, I did not like it. I gave him a 2.5 as Bond. Yeah, I was below you by half. All right, so let's get to main villain. I don't know his name, but the main villain.
It's the Spanish guy. I literally just watched it. It wasn't like Santos or something like that. Sanchez. Okay, yeah, that's right. It's Robert Davi. All right. Listen, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of just sugarcoating, which I barely do anyway. He's whack. This is a whack villain. Okay, first of all, I don't like the fake Spanish accent unless it depends on the role. I've never been a fan of I don't care about non-Hispanics playing Hispanic. Don't get me wrong. It's called acting. I'm not one of those people, but it just seems so cheesy when certain people do it. And he had that cheesy fake Spanish accent. You know what I mean? The kind of over the top. It would sound like if I was pretending to talk like how my grandpa talked, that's how he seemed like he was doing. And I wasn't feeling it. I was like, nope. You know who they should have got? My man, Raul Julia. You should have played him. How did he not? How did they not call him up? He would have been perfect for this role.
Robert Julia.
I need Raul Julia in every movie. But the point is, he's actually, Robert Davi's fine. He just, nope. I gave him a 1. Unmemorable. The fact that I just watched this about an hour ago, I finished, and I already kind of forgot his name. He's not even in the first hour, except the very, very beginning. And the first time Bond goes to him, they just have this meeting. He's just not imposing. He's just, I don't like him. He's better as a villain in The Goonies than he is in this movie. So
the one.
I didn't like him.
Yeah, well, look, in terms of my man Sanchez, I will say this. Out of Dominic Green and Sanchez, I felt like Sanchez was better, right? I do agree with you on this. He was a fake Spanish dude playing it. You could totally see it.
Yeah.
But what he does different is my man kills people. And you see
That's
it.
true.
He blew that guy's head up He threw him
that's
in the
true.
money thing, right?
Yeah.
He was on the truck and he's fighting Bond and it flips over with him, which we will talk about in the action sequences. So like you see him throughout being like the villain, right? Like he gets captured and you like, I'll give you $2 million if you whatever. And I was like, okay, this is cool and all this. All right, fine. He killed Felix Leiter's wife. I was like, all right. I gave him a 3.5 because I was like, you know what? As a character, he did more than Dominic Green. Where Dominic Green is just straight
Low
trash.
bar. You're right,
Yeah,
though.
he's low
You're
bar.
right.
So, like, to me, he was a way better villain than Dominic Green. Like, Dominic Green is like the standard of villains right now for all of us. So
he's the Bond measuring stick, and it's
Yeah.
really low. It's like on the floor. To
Yeah.
me, I guess equal. For me, I didn't like him. But you're right. Actually, if I thought about it more, I would. I'm going to keep it at a 1, but I would maybe bump it to a 2 because he did fight him at least. I'll give him a 2. I still didn't like him, but I give him a 2. I'll give him a 2 because he fought.
all right, understandable. See, I got him to change it to
Yeah,
1.0.
that's fair. Fair point. I
There you
just didn't like him.
All right, so let's get to some action sequence.
So I thought the last movie had pretty okay action. It's not a lot. This movie has a pretty okay action and also not a lot. But at least in the third act, there's a lot of action.
Yeah.
So at least they end it with a bang, which, I'm the type, I like it sprinkled throughout. And there's some, there is some action but it's so everything before like the third act, I found really cheesy. Like when the underwater fight, when they're fighting underwater and he's like, all the people are taking off his mask and he's like, have you ever been punched underwater? It doesn't hurt. And this guy's like punching people and kicking them. You can't even generate enough force underwater to hurt anyone with a punch. And the guys are like, ugh. And he hits him in the face with the mask and he's like, ugh. It's like, this is so stupid. And then all of a sudden he shoots the harpoon into the plane and he's like water skiing. I was like, what is this movie? What is happening right now? So that was pretty stupid. The opening, like the cold open, just like the fact that they were able to get to the exact spot of where the wedding was while also tying up an airplane and just jumping off like no big deal. Oh my gosh. Third act action was good. The third act action was good. So with all my jokes aside, it wasn't good enough for a really high score for me. I only gave it a 3. And that's because there's not a lot early on in the first 2/3 of the movie. And what is there is just so cheese. It's like, and it's not even well executed, which I'm saving for my overall, but I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so when it comes to this action of 007, one thing I do give it, and I'm giving a merit, is practical. I miss practical action stunts. And
Same.
where we are now in the 2000s, where everything is now CGI. Like you could tell it's a CGI, truck and plane, explosions, gun firing. This, you could really see them skydiving, them on top of a truck fighting, them flipping over. And I gave a point for that because I'm like, you know what? I miss this style of shooting where if they could monetize that style of shooting action, I would be all up in it. And I do enjoy some of the scenes. Okay. I enjoyed the scene in the plane when they jump off because I was like, wow, that actually looks pretty cool. When
it looks real, but it's just
some stuff didn't work for me. But I was like, you know what? I like stuff like that. It looked real. So I was like, that's cool. Some scenes you could tell they driving the mountain and it's green screen. You could tell they in the green. And I was like, that don't look good. I love the truck doing a 2-wheeler when he shot the missile. I loved it. I was like, all right. And you saw where the truck banks up because you saw the ramp on top of the dirt. And I was like, you know what? This is why 80s is so cool because you get to see the tricks. But I thought stuff like that is why I enjoy these type of movies. And with that said, though, I'm going to be really, really honest. I gave the action a 3.5.
Fair.
I felt like it was good. I don't think it was great. I do agree with you. Living Daylights had more action, but I felt like the stunts here were better than what we got on the other one. But
this was missing? A guy throwing exploding milk. Like, if you're going to be... So here's my thing. If you're going to be, like, cheesy...
Yeah.
At least that movie went, like, full for it. Like, bro, we got a guy who has little milk jugs. He throws them, they explode. And then at least it's cheesy and funny. This was just, like, cheesy, but they played it like it was serious.
Well, you did get the scene that he's in the lab and he threw the little thing and it caused the whole chaos. Which I was like, oh, my God. That was
And
funny.
that was played for comedy.
Yeah.
But I like the exploding milk better.
That was mad funny. And when that dude
he's just like, chucking him underhand and he blows up. That was great. I loved it.
Yeah. So, okay. With that said,
Okay.
Nate gives it a 3. I gave it 3.5. Storyline.
Right. So here's where we go off the rails, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not off the rails, but I didn't like this movie that much. To be honest, I found it pretty boring for the most part. It's a lot of talking. For a storyline at its core is pretty good. All right. I mean, it's essentially a revenge storyline. It's not the typical, hey, MI6 has this guy. We need Bond to go get him and do his thing. No, Bond's kind of going rogue, if you will, right? He's like, I'm making this decision myself. I quit. That line you're talking about where he retires and it was really stupid in friggin' it looked like Florida again. I think they were in Florida.
Yeah.
Too much Florida in this movie, first of all. And I live in Florida. Bond does not belong here. This is not a place for him. They're like in Key West and they're like, I'm like, this is too tropical. I don't know how I feel about that daytime tropical Bond. I'm not a big fan of it. You know what I mean? European islands, yes. But like Florida tropics, didn't love it. But anyway, it's a good storyline at its core. The problem is there's just too much nonsense, like filler. The movie should have been an hour and 40 minutes. If it was an hour and 40 minutes and you had your same like finale and your action beats, perfect. It was all the other stuff I didn't really care for. I didn't really care for that other girl, the blonde girl who like helps him in the movie. Like whatever. Benicio del Toro was in this. That was kind of cool to see Benicio del Toro. Mm-hmm. And also Talisa Soto, who was in Mortal Kombat, the 1995 version. She played Katana and Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat. So this was a pre-Mortal Kombat. With starring James Bond. But I don't know. I gave it a 2. I couldn't get into it as much as I thought I should, right? If you look at the start, okay, you see the relationship with him and Felix, which in his 2 movies, I don't get. It seems really strong for like, they barely did anything in the last movie. And now all of a sudden they're like best friends for the last 30 years, but whatever, that's fine. It's they're best friends. Okay, cool. I liked it. Then his wife gets murdered. Then he gets like his legs bit off by sharks and stuff like that. That's a funny line. They dipped him in a shark tank and he gets his leg bit off and like his arm bit off and all this stuff, whatever. And then you're like, Bond's got to get this guys that did this to his boy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in on this. It just takes him too long. That's the problem. It takes him too long to get to the point. It's too much other stuff. So I didn't like it. I liked the idea, don't get me wrong, but I didn't like the execution. So I gave it a 2.
I agree with you on this. And like I said, I'd seen this 5 times, but again, I'm 38 now. Mm-hmm. So when I saw it as a kid and growing up, and I was like, oh, I enjoy like the truck wheelies and all that. Now that I'm starting to understand the storylines and now I really dip back into it. And now that we have these categories, it really changes my perspective of watching Bond movies now. Right. So whereas I remember this movie being so good because I was like, oh man, they killed Felix Leiter, but it didn't kill Felix. They killed his wife. And he was left for the end. So I was like totally wrong. I was like, holy crap. But to answer your question is their relationship is strong because he's been in 6 movies. So you didn't get to tackle the other movies when they're together. So you get to see that relationship, especially the line that she goes, oh, why is he so sad? And he goes, oh, because he had a wife once. And that was from Her Majesty's Secret Service. So
so we're watching these out of order doesn't help. That's for sure. It doesn't help me.
Yeah, it doesn't help you. And I think if we had to do it the right way, it should have been Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and then go in order. So that was our bad. But again, we had to find slots of.
So wait a second. You're telling me that all the Bond movies, okay, not Daniel Craig. His literally clearly very like his own thing.
Reboot. Yeah.
All right. Besides him, all the rest of them are tied together, but with different actors in the roles?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's really screwed up. I have no idea I thought every time they recasted it, it was like a new set of rules.
No, because these chain of events of Timothy Dalton when he says that one line
that didn't make sense to me.
Is basically George LeBiz, Her Majesty's Secret Service. And that's the thing, right? Like, there's a lot of things that happen, and it sucks. You know what? I should have been more clarified when we broke this down because I totally forgot about the continuality.
It's okay. It's kind of fun watching it this way in some ways.
Yeah,
I don't have any attachment to it. I'm just like, whatever happens, let's see what happens. But that's true. Maybe if you just fill me in, it helps. So that's fine.
So basically, that one line is her secret, Majesty's secret. So when we get there, we'll talk about it. Why she said that one line.
Now I'll remember. Now it'll be cool.
Yeah. So. In terms of storyline, I totally agree with you. I gave this movie a 3. I thought the storyline was good, but this needed to be trimmed the fat a bit. Trim a little bit of the fat, because there was a lot of dead air for myself, where I was just like, ugh, this was not working for me. But yeah, I gave it a 3. You gave it a 2 overall.
Yeah, a 2 for me. And it's funny, I like what you said there, because it's the same for me. Like when you watch, now that we do this podcast and you have to break these movies down into these categories, it sometimes, not always, but sometimes it almost like hurts. It's like, oh, I really like this movie, but this element of it is very bad. So, and you might still like it. I can give a movie with a 1 villain and still give it a 5. If maybe it's not about the villain. But in this case, I gave it a 2 overall. I was a lot bored. I was a lot bored a lot of times. I liked The Living Daylights better. And I thought I was going to like this one better. And I liked The Living Daylights a bit better. I thought it was more entertaining. Yeah. This was everything was played too straight, besides one little kind of goofy scene here or there. Everything was played too serious, but then was too cheesy. And here's my problem with this one. The direction is horrid. Now, this guy, I looked him up after, the director, and he directed The Living Daylights and like 4 other ones before this. He directed A View to a Kill and 2 other ones with Roger Moore. I don't know what happened. I didn't get this from License to Kill or from The Living Daylights, but from this one, everything looked so set up and staged, and it was bothering me. You could tell where they're like, they pose, then go to their next step, then go to their next step. And I'm like, why did you leave this in? What kind of editing is this? Like, I should not be able to see where you could tell the actors thinking, I got to stand on this spot and then do this movement and then do this move. And it happened a lot of times. And there's also really weird shots. Like when he's in the airplane and when he's in the airplane and with all the money in it, there's just one random shot where it cuts to like the back and you see like one little like dollar bill stick on the thing. And I'm like, this should have been a shot where there's like a lot of money flying and they left it in with just one at this weird angle. And there was a lot of stuff like that. So I get why they never brought this guy back for another Bond movie later. But the direction was off for me. And I only noticed those things when they're like glaring. And I found it to be pretty glaring. Maybe he just was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do these movies anymore. And didn't care that much, which is possible, but I gave it a 2. I didn't like it. I thought I was going to like it more, but I didn't.
I gave this a 3 overall. I thought it was a good movie for what it was. I don't like Timothy Dalton. I'm just going to say that right now.
I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan of Timothy Dalton. I don't think he was a good Bond. Nope. But what I will say is, this script has some weird moments, whereas why the hell would they have it? And one of them was the damn ninjas. Where the hell these ninjas came from? I don't know where they came from. It was hilarious because I was like, where did these ninjas come? Like he's about to assassinate some dude and ninjas came out the blue. It's like someone put together a script in 2 minutes and was like, you know what? We need ninjas in a Bond movie. It was like, okay.
Didn't we review what was the other movie we reviewed where there's just random ninjas? Oh, remember? We did, and they just show up in the office building. I'm like, why is there ninjas?
Yeah, this was the same.
This is the same. Why do we do so many movies with random ninjas? It's weird.
It's like a action trope.
It's an action trope. Hey, we don't know what else to do. Throw in some ninjas.
We're like, Bond needs ninjas. So they just threw it in there. And Shang Tsung was like, I swallow your soul or whatever he says. Your soul is mine. But it was just some weird moments. I didn't like that at all. When he's in the casino and he's winning all this money and then he sends in the love interest or whatever her name.
The blonde girl?
Yeah. No.
She was like an agent?
Lamara.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. Okay.
She's the one that played Katana. And she's playing the money. And all of a sudden, like, he stops and she goes, please, James, please go. And I'm like, he could see you from the camera, people. Like, what was going on here? I don't know. I just felt like it was some weird things.
You know what's really stupid? At the very beginning, when Robert Davey walks in on her with that other dude, and then he lays her across him, and then I thought it was a sword, but I thought it was a soft sword, and it's just like a little baby whip, and I'm like, what? This is off to a bad start. Like, he's got this little floppy, and he's barely hitting. He's like just going like this, and she's like, like it hurts so bad, like, and then when James sees the scars, they're like, just little. I mean, I'm sure they hurt, but it was stupid.
Yeah, Pam was not a good Bond girl. No, that was the one with the blonde hair. She was annoying as hell. Yeah, she was the one like, where's Bond? And the Q is like, oh, he's with the girl. She was like, right. She ran to
I love him.
I love him. Why? I just met him.
You met him 3 days ago at a bar in Miami, and now you're like in love with him.
My favorite scene before we wrap this up is the ending, where Katana goes. We're calling her Katana anyway.
She's
Katana goes,
Katana
yeah,
to me,
she's
yeah.
Katana. She goes up to him and she goes, "Oh, James," and they're kissing, and then she goes, and she runs off, and Q grabs 2 wines, right, and then he throws himself in the pool. Right? And
Yes.
then all of a sudden, they're making out in the pool. And I'm like, what is wrong with this movie? Did not like it. I thought that was stupid. Anyway,
There was another scene like that. I don't mean to keep going, but there was a scene where they're at like a party and there was a guy in the pool with a suit on.
Yes,
With a
and he's
full
popping
suit.
his champagne.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this guy doing? Why is he wearing a suit and walking? It was bothering me. It was making me uncomfortable. I don't know if I was supposed to notice it or not, but I didn't like it.
That was weird. I'm telling you, there's a lot of weird
So many weird
situations
parts.
in that. Anyway,
Yeah.
total points.
12, which I think it might be the same score I gave to The Living Daylights, or I might have gave that a
Yeah.
13. Either way, I like The Living Daylights better. If I had to watch one or the other, give me The Living Daylights. I like the opening song better. I like the girl better in that movie. It's more fun. They have the milk grenade guy. This does not have a milk grenade guy in it. This just has a better third act. I'll give it credit for that. But 12 for me.
I gave it a 15.5 for this
We're
movie.
not that
so
far
it's an average movie. It's a good movie.
And you're like a Bond diehard, and I'm not. And
Yeah,
we're not that
it's
far
average.
apart.
Yeah, it's an average film, to be honest with you. I'd rather see Quantum.
That one has a crazy action, at least. It does.
And a horrible
Quantum, yeah.
villain, so it pretty much is on par.
Equal. It's equal.
There you go. So, with that said, Nate, you know what to do.
All right. So that wraps up. We're not going to do a ranking for this. Obviously, it's only 2 movies, but that wraps up our Timothy Dalton. You know what I think we should do when we're all done? Do a 26 movie or 25 movie ranking. That would be that would be interesting.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I'm gonna have to remember which one is which, but it'll be fun. So yeah, next up, as far as our next episode, we are wrapping up our horrible action movie month with a 2002 classic called Rollerball. We're gonna be reviewing that, and then the following week we start our new franchise just in time for the brand new spanking 4K release. We are doing the Underworld series now, Alex. We haven't watched these movies yet. I mean, we've seen them, but we haven't rewatched them. You a fan of that franchise?
I love the franchise, but I'm gonna tell you right now, there's one of them I did not see, and that was Blood Wars. Never seen it before.
I will say this: from the last time I watched them, and it's been a while, I've seen all 5. I like 3 of them, and I didn't like 2 of them. So we'll see if it changes. And I'm not going to tell you which ones I liked and which ones I didn't like, but it's like Resident Evil to me. Like there's 6 of those. I know for a fact there's like 2 that I hate, and the rest I kind of like. So we'll see. But me and Alex, we're both, we'll say fans of the franchise overall. We're going to be watching them and checking them out in, 3 of them in 4K for the first time, because I know 1 and 5 already had 4K releases. So yeah, that's our next franchise. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, so if you guys want to follow us on our social media accounts, please follow Nate over on Instagram at Netflix Reviews. Check out the podcast with him and his friends called Netflix Movie Reviews. Anything Action Movie Guys Podcast, please follow us on Instagram at Action Movie Guys Podcast or Levels of Geeks on Instagram. If you guys are new to the channel and you want to support the channel, please head over to youtube.com/Levels of Geeks, because we are returning back live November 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday. So with that said, I'm your host, Alex Figueroa, and that is
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
be awesome to each other and geek out.